Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new F1 2021 League Racing video. The second one on this game. Today we're racing in PSGL around France for round 2 of the season 29 championship. I think last week I said it completely wrong, but I'm quite sure it's season 29. We're heading out for Q1, our first run in Q1. Well, actually, we went out on intermediates before just to check if everything was working fine, my wheel, my pedals, etc. So that in case something is wrong, we can just save a set of tires, basically. So yeah, that's why I always go out on intermediates first. Same in F1 Esports. It's just to check if everything is working fine, equipment-wise. As now, Simon is disconnected. You can even say Simon Weiging disconnected from Q1. So if he doesn't get back in this session, then he will have some work to do in the race. You can see quite a lot of people ahead of me on the straight, on the mini map in the bottom left. I think there are around 6-7 cars ahead of us, so I need to leave quite a bit of space because I expect those people to slow down in the last sector to create some space as well. So just gonna make sure to leave a big gap of space ahead of me. I think no one behind me is on the lap, so we just have the track on our own if we leave a bit of space. Let's pull up the standings after round 1. We are leading, of course, after our first win of the season in the first race ahead of our teammate Danny Moreno. We got a 1-2, which is great for the team championship as well. Shanika Clay and Lucas Blakely P3, P4, and then Nicolas Matteo in P5. Very good job from Nicolas, as he is one of the few non-F1 Esports drivers with Tomac actually behind him, who is also not an F1 Esports driver. So good job from them. Constructors, as you can see here, we're P1, Aston Martin P2, we'll finish P3, P4, so good job from them as well. And then Ferrari in P3, quite far behind, I would say. But yeah, after the 1-2 finish, obviously we got quite the gap. So very good job from both me and Danny last race, getting the 1-2 in PSGL. We've gotten quite a few in PSGL in the past 1.5 season, or actually past season. So yeah, going pretty well. Or bond together. We're getting in a lot of good results, so let's hope we can get that into F1 Esports as well. As you can see, we're on our first Q1 lap. Grip is a little bit lower in Q1 than a short quali or Q2, Q3 of course, so this is the worst the track is gonna be of the whole weekend, unless it's gonna rain of course, but it's not gonna rain, it's gonna stay dry, wall quali and the wall race. Up to the final sector then, yellow flag ahead for a car that's I think letting others go. Purple sector 2, Alessio Di Capua goes fastest with the 127.1. And now this is the difficult part of the track. Very mechanical, hard to get the front turned in. At the same time, you need to keep those rear tires cool for the final 2 corners. You can see Ruben Vallejo getting out of the way, probably on an in lap or on an out lap, not sure. Into the final 2 corners. This is where you struggle with the tire temperatures, the final 2 corners. And if you're too high on the tire temperatures, you're going to be struggling to get on the power out of the final corner, where you really need the rear tires to work. Also very important to get the rotation right, of course, in that hairpin. But we go P1 with a 126.969. Not a very good lap, but it's more than enough to get into Q2. We didn't went out again in Q1. Our teammates and a lot of others had to go out again and use that second set of soft. So we've got an advantage over them for the rest of quali and for the rest of the weekend, as we're aiming to get into Q3 on mediums. And to get that to work, we need a lot of other people to go on mediums as well, of course. So I waited until the end of the session to see if a lot of other people were going to do the same, and then went out on mediums. First lap so far into turn 1, braking just at the start of that outside curb. Missed the apex a little bit, but the turn 2 was pretty good. Nothing special though, I feel like, and we need to get a very good lap in to get into Q3, because some people are surely going to go and try and qualify on the softs. I feel like usually it's always around 4 or 5 people on a track where the mediums are better than softs probably to start on. So if everyone else then goes on medium, you still need to outqualify 5 people on the mediums. So that's going to be interesting. Now into the next chicane, braking at the start of the curb there on the outside, down to 4th gear and then down to 3rd for the next right-hander. A little bit of understeer. Didn't really get the rotation correct on that right-hander. So that compromised my exit into the last sector, 48.644 middle split. It's going to be tricky to get into Q3, surely. Even though a lot of people are on the mediums. Didn't really had proper practice for this, as this is not on the F1 Esports calendar. We're not going to be full-on preparing for it, of course. So we prefer to just aim for the F1 Esports tracks, like Bahrain, for example, last week. Into the final 2 corners, you can see quite a bit of traffic here, which is a distraction. Doesn't really help with the dirty air, probably as well. Even though they're not directly ahead of me, it's still probably not ideal. And up to the line now we go, 27.8, which puts us P3 behind Philip Reicheneder and Frederik Rasmussen. And now we just have to wait for everyone else to cross the line. But we managed to get through. P5, Philip Reicheneder and Frederik Rasmussen, the only 2 on the softs. So they're going to have to start the race on the softs. So that's going to be interesting. Now Q3 then. You can see their first push lap. Big snap of oversteer. So that ruined my lap. As you can hear me say there, that was bad. 26.989, which is slower than a Q1 lap, even though the track is much faster. Fastest currently is Tomek Poratsis with a 26.7. So we're going to have to try and beat that. We're aiming for 26.5 here on the final lap, so the pressure is on. I put in a poor banker, and now we have to perform. Otherwise, we're going to be starting outside of the top 8 probably. And that's not what we want. We want to get at pole position here again. We got it last week, and we're going to try and do it now. Through turn 2, you can see much better, no oversteer. And we've gained 2 tenths just by not getting that oversteer moment. 1.7 tenths to be exact. Into the next right, left, and then a very tight right, where it's important to get good rotation. You see 1.2 tenths up, but one corner goes into the other, so that 1.2 tenths is not precisely correct. So yeah, we more or less gained 1.5 tenths just in the first sector, as that sector is basically split in the middle of a corner, so that's not ideal to get the timings exactly correctly. Through the next right and a 1.8 tenths up now into the final sector. We're gonna be 1 tenth up on Fabrizio Donoso, but we're gonna be really fast in the last sector. That's a strong sector. Lucas Blakely goes to P1 with a 126.62, and it's gonna be tough to improve that because we're only 2 tenths up on our 26.9. So we're really gonna have to put something special in there in the final few corners. 2.7 tenths up as we go into the final 2 corners of the final qualifying lap of this race. Sam McBride goes P4 with a 126.8. The times are tumbling all the time. Our teammate Danny Moreno goes up to P3 for now, but across the line we go purple last, but it's only enough for P3 on the grid, as Frederik Rasmussen got faster on that final run as well. You can see only 6 thousandths ahead of us. Again, just like last week, it's super close between the top 4. Fabrizio Donoso pretty close behind us as well, only 4 tenths. And then our teammate Danny Moreno ended up in P5. Tomek Poratsis, unfortunately after that extremely good banker, only P6, as he couldn't get that final lap together. And that's when it counts. So he had a very good banker, but just not a very good final qualifying lap. Now, onto the race. Strategy we're aiming for is medium soft. Probably not going to be surprised if some people are going to try medium hard, or someone like Freddy is going to start on the softs and then go to the mediums. And I think all of them can work if you have the pace, if you don't come out in traffic, etc, etc. On the warm-up lap now, just going to warm up the tires, brakes, etc. Try and warm up that core temperature enough for the start of the race. We're going to be starting behind Frederik Rasmussen, as I said, on soft, so he's going to be very strong at the start of the race. But of course, if he doesn't manage to pull away in those first few laps, you might be able to stick with him, and then it might be more difficult for him towards the end of the race. But we will have to wait and see how that goes. We know Freddy is one of the best sim races in the world, if not the best sim race in the world at the moment. But he's going to aim this season for an F1 Esports title, just like us again. Now into the race, 5 red lights, and away we go. Very good initial start. You can see we're gaining on Lucas Blakely straight away into turn 1. We're going to go down the or actually around the outside in turn 1, but I've gone a little bit too wide. Tires are probably a little bit cold as well. Freddie Rasmussen got a big slide on that exit. I think everyone is struggling a little bit with tire temperatures in this first lap. Down to turn 3. We're still in P3, no positions gained or lost. I thought maybe Fabrizio was going to go down the inside here, or at least was going to have a look, but he stayed behind. And now we have to try and stay with Freddie Rasmussen, and I think Lucas Blakely is going to be pushing a lot as well on this lap to try and stick with him, because that's going to be very, very hard. Softs are very fast in the first few laps, but then drop off very aggressively. So if Freddie Rasmussen does pull away, we might be able to get back later on in the stint. But yeah, let's see how that goes. Onto halfway into lap 2, then you can see Lucas Blakely is out of DRS at the moment. DRS is going to be activated in half a lap time, and we need to catch up at least 2 tenths. Luckily, just like in quali, we are fast in the last sector. Fabrizio Donoso only 7 tenths behind, and you can see he is dropping in this final sector and regaining. We still have a lot of DRS to use on this lap, and we're going to be doing that because it's crucial we stay within the DRS of Lucas Blakely, because otherwise both Freddie and Lucas Blakely might pull away in this race, and then we have a lot of work to do to try and catch up again. Now, start of lap 3, you can see Frederick Rasmussen 130.0 and we're doing a 130.599, but we have managed to get back into the DRS of Lucas Blakely, even though it has cost us a lot of ERS, which doesn't matter. We will regain that once DRS is activated again. But yeah, if they have a lot of spare ERS still left, then we're going to be in trouble, but I don't think they have. So they've been pushing as well in those first few laps. And crucial, Fabrizio Donoso out of the DRS. He was, I think so, out 1 second, or out over a 1 second window at the DRS detection zone. And so was our teammate Danny Moreno. So both of them don't have DRS and regaining massively on this lap. So now we have to try to stick with Lucas Blakely's and stick with Freddie Rasmussen in those laps to recharge our ERS, which we've done. You can see 93%. Lucas Blakely has overtaken Freddie Rasmussen, who has almost lost the DRS of Lucas Blakely. Freddie struggling with the tires, I think so, but he is stretching them really, really far into this first stint. So honestly, Freddie is not out of this race yet, because if we start fighting and he's on clean air on new mediums, then he's going to be rapid towards the end of this race. So don't count Freddie out just yet, just because we're on the alternate strategy. I expect Freddie to come in this lap, as otherwise I think he's going to be in puncture territory, or at least it's going to be too risky. And even though his tires are very old now, he's still keeping very, very good pace. So hats off. Those softs, you can see, are completely done and dusted. As you can even say, Rasmussen has to pit now. And we are going to get DRS again onto this main straight, as we were behind Freddie at the DRS detection zone. So we're going to gain a few tenths back to Lucas and get back into the DRS window. Freddie the only one to pit on this lap. Some people have already gone for hards from the softs, but Freddie is going for the mediums, as the mediums can do around 20 laps, more or less. So yeah, new mediums, and he's going to make that easily towards the end of the race. Now 100% ERS at the start of lap 12, and we're only half a second behind Lucas Blakely. As you can see, Fabrizio Donoso has catched up as well again, as I was stuck behind Freddie. I couldn't really get past, and I think that's because we're burning a little bit too high on wings. As I said, setup is not optimal, as we didn't prepare really well for it. So yeah, I expect the same from the others, as I think some might be driving a time trial setup, which might even be better than our setup we made in our online lobbies. I did it around 3 lobbies. But yeah, we have got past Lucas Blakely now, and you can see up the hill he gained quite a bit of time back with the help of Slipstream, but I think that's definitely also the lower wings coming into play there. But we should be slightly better on tire wear with the higher wings. Usually that helps with the tire wear, higher wings. But of course, you don't recharge the ERS as fast. Now, onto end of lap 16. You can see some people behind us are coming into the pits. One of them, Jake Benham, in P5. So they're gonna be doing the undercut, and we're gonna try and extend and get them back later on in this race. Very early on though, you remember Freddy struggling after 10 laps on those softs. Obviously he did that one quali lap on them. But yeah, they're gonna have to do 12 laps on a set of softs. And we are gonna try and extend this stint a little bit more, so we will be faster later on in this race. Lucas Blakely now, so no one hears. I can say yes or no. Lucas Blakely now goes down the inside of me, and because he overtook me, I felt like I wanted to do another lap on those mediums. Fabrizio Donoso only 1/10 behind us, and I expect a lot of people to undercut me because the soft to medium pace difference, I think at this point, is around 3 seconds per lap. But we will gain that back over our final 9 laps on those new softs. So yeah, old mediums versus brand new softs is a very big difference. Also, if you hear me talking to someone, it's my race engineer for this race is Ben Goldie. But we have muted them, or I muted basically the whole Discord call, so nothing gets leaked about setup or strategy or anything that could help other teams. So I muted them. I can hear them, but just the stream and the recording won't be able to hear them. So yeah, we don't want to give any advantages, of course, to other teams. F1 Esports is very competitive. We want to win, so we've got to hide the stuff. That's also the reason of my camera placement in the right bottom. So we are hiding the differential and the brake bias. Even though it might sound a little bit corny, we want to win. And F1 Esports is very competitive, so we're gonna hide any info that might help the competition. Now we're gonna be pitting this lap, because otherwise I'm gonna be at puncture territory. So I've got to pit, and also I don't want to get undercut by the whole field, because compared to the likes of Jake Benham, we've probably lost around 5 seconds now in those 2 laps, as he's on brand new softs, as I said. We can't cross pit entry line or pit exit line, as we would get penalized. So gonna stay nice and neat within them and come into the pits now. We are in the first pit box. We're not gonna get held because it's only Dario Lemulo behind me, and he was 1 to 1.5 seconds behind me. Not the 3 seconds that would hold me up in the pits. Now onto the track again. You can see Tomek Prats has actually gone for hards, so he might be fast again later on in this race, but he's going to be struggling compared to soft runners, definitely. And now coming back on track, you can see Johnny Tormela, oh my god, almost hitting me, and I had to come back onto the track, as basically the racing line and the pit exit are the same line. So I could not go anywhere else, basically, as I would run off track, and then I would get a track limit warning and be at a higher risk of a penalty. Fabrizio Donoso behind me has a 5-second time penalty, and I think he got held massively in the pit. So he's gonna have a tough race after being held for so long in the pits. Now coming back on track, we're P11, and this is not with pit stops or anything. This is our actual position. We're net P11. We have lost 9 positions in the pits, or actually maybe 8 if you compare it to Freddy pitting for mediums, of course. But now we've gone down the inside of Shanaka Clay and Joni Tormela, who both were out of ERS. So easy pass there for us. No, not really a hard pass to do. Both had no ERS. Shanaka on old mediums. Joni went for the undercut, so he's struggling for not for tires, but he obviously has less grip than us on those softs. Now on to lap 20. We've capped Fabrizio Donoso a bit as Nicolas Matteo goes down the inside of Sam McBride, who is on hards. And coming out of this corner, I could straight away see Sam using his ERS. So I decided not to go for it, use my ERS to the advantage, save up my ERS. As you can see, they're going to start fighting again into the chicane, and that's not what I want. So yeah, now because they're fighting, I'm going to catch up in the chicane, to Sam, who's on old hards, of course. I'm gonna use my ERS wisely now on this exit, so I can actually overtake him. And we are only in a net P8 with 7 laps to go. So this is not gonna be easy to win this race. Freddy Rasmussen is around 7 seconds ahead of us, and we still have so many cars to pass ahead of us. So not easy to get a podium here, as everyone ahead of me basically is also on softs, apart from Tomek Poratsis, who's in the hards. But that means we have to overtake 6 cars ahead of us or 6 cars that are on the same tire compound before we are in contention for the win. And then we still have to catch up Rasmussen, of course. Danny Moreno, 28.7, fastest lap of the race, who has 1 lap older tire than us. Tires, sorry. And now we're gonna have to try and make a move on Nicolas Matteo ahead. Only 3 tenths ahead of us. I think he pitted 1 lap earlier than us, maybe 2. But he's doing pretty well. One of the few non-F1 esports drivers. Ruben Vallejo as well. So 3 non-F1 esports drivers ahead of us. And Nicolas Matteo not using a lot of his ERS. I think he doesn't want to battle us at this point, as he feels like we're gonna get past anyway with quite a bit of ERS and of course the better tires. So strategically it's better for him to stay behind probably and to follow us around this traffic. Ruben Vallejo up next as we move on to exactly 1 lap later. Ruben is gonna go for a move on Tomek Poratsis, who is on those old hards. You can see his rear light was flashing briefly there, so he has no ERS as well. And this is gonna be tough for him because they're all soft runners behind us, and those softs are a lot faster than the hards, even though they will drop off towards the end. Tomek gets a massive snap of oversteer there, so that's a free position for us, helps us again to try and get up the field. But so far the strategy is not working out for us. Are we getting fast enough to the Rasmussen? Because I don't think so. As I said at the start of this race, the softs are very fast for the first few laps, but they then drop off, and we're not be able to use the pace at the moment because we're constantly stuck behind other cars. As Nicolas Matteo and Tomek have a little moment in turn 1 and 2. I think Tomek is out of this race basically. But yeah, the mediums are probably the better race tire, so it might have not been very smart to start on them, as you want to finish on the fastest tire, of course. The softs are really fast, of course, but we can't use it at the moment, and by the time we've got clean air, our tires are not fast enough anymore. So this is all not very ideal. I did not expect to get undercut by like 9 cars, and now we've got to make up for it. We're still in the fight for at least P2. As you can hear me ask about the ERS levels from Lucas Blakely and Danny Moreno. And now we're going to go for a move on Jake Benham, who went for that aggressive undercut. And to be fair, it has paid off so far. He was in P4, we just overtaken him for P4. So GG to him. He's also one of the few from Danny. Also one of the few non-F1 esports drivers, as you can hear me ask for the gap between Danny and Freddy, which was 2.5 seconds. But now I still have to pass Lucas and Danny before I can even start gaining to Freddy. Danny going so slow, man. Our lap of pitting was probably better and faster, but so many people went for the undercut that we've just lost too much time in traffic. So that's not ideal. And probably because of that, we are not going to catch Freddy Rasmussen again in this race, as there's only 2 laps to go. And we still have to pass both Lucas Blakely and Danny Moreno. We're not going to give this up easily. You can see I'm using my whole battery basically on this straight. And I'm so close to Lucas, but we're just too high on wings. We've got too much drag. We can't do anything on the straight. You can see we're so much faster in the corners, but we just can't pass him on the straight because we don't have the straight line speed. Again, I'm using it up the hill, but we just don't have the straight line speed, just like on last straight. Even though we are fully in the slipstream, we were not gaining because we're so high on wings. You can see Lucas went defensive because he knows we're so much faster in the corners with the better tires and the higher wings. But again, we can't make it work. He's just parking the bus on the apex basically, and we can't make it work at the moment. So we probably have to wait until the last lap. You can see we are 53% ERS, 55 actually, 56 as we come out of the final corner. And I'm going to use it into turn 1. Final lap of the race. We're still fighting for P2. We're also fighting to break our own record again. We've got 14 consecutive podiums in a row in PSGL. And we're trying to make that 15, of course. But then we have to pass Lucas Blakely on this lap. And that's not going to be easy. You can see we're almost pushing him around, this left-hander. I couldn't really send it. That felt a little bit too risky. So we're going to once again wait for the straight. We've got 50% ERS to use on this straight and on the next straight. Danny Moreno, our teammate, goes defensive. Yeah. As he knows he's going to be in trouble with that DRS from Lucas Blakely behind. Lucas using all of his ERS and he goes down the inside. But misses braking point and spins around and up to P3 we go. Now we've got to keep pushing to catch up to Danny Moreno. We have a lot more ERS to use on this final straight. As you can see, his rear light is flashing and we still have 13% remaining. Into the next right-hander, we're having a little look down the inside. We go around the outside. I was having a little look for a switchback there, but he covers it off nicely. Now, final sector of the race. This is where our tire advantage and high arrow comes into play. I was trying for a switchback there. You can see wheel spin onto this next little straight. We go around the outside. Danny falls for the fake move. Has a little bit of oversteer. We get the switchback of dreams, as Arif would say. Around the outside, Danny pushes a little bit wide, but we're gonna get him on traction, onto the line, and we're gonna get P2 just about behind Freddie Rasmussen, who drove a brilliant race. My overtake was off track, of course, but I did not really have another option, as Danny missed his apex a little bit, as you can see here. Missed the apex, run a little bit wide, and had no other option than eventually go off track, because otherwise I would just fully turn in on Danny. And of course we don't want to crash. No team orders here. This was just fully pushing, full on racing in that last lap. There was nothing to gain for either of us anymore. So no team orders. Of course, if it was for a win, or not for a win, I mean if Danny was be able to still gain another position, or if I was still be able to gain another position on an alternate strategy or a different strategy, then we would have probably played the team game. But this was just for our own, just for a position, nothing to gain for the team anymore, so we were just fighting to the maximum there. GG to Freddy, absolute brilliant race from him. So he was unstoppable today, especially when he went to that mediums. He was just really fast, and we were just stuck in traffic for that last stint, which was our own fault. We went too long on the mediums. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this League Racing video, round 2 of PSGL. Next week is gonna be Spa-Francorchamps, so make sure to check out next video as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys want to see more, and see you guys next time. Ciao!